I get recognized a lot. Like I think probably more than other people. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm loud. And I would see the type of guy that should recognize me not recognize me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like caught me off guard.
He's about to say something.
He's about to say, "Oh, the machine."
Yeah.
And never quit drinking. And he just walked right by me, and I was like, "Wait, did you want to?" I'd walk by him a second time and be like, "You sure?" I had like a moment where I said to Leanne, I was like, "Am I a narcissist?" Joe said it to me before.
Yeah.
Joe said it to me before on a podcast. Ari said it to me the other day. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I wonder if they've talked about it behind my back. And I was like, I might ask my friends to tell me when I'm doing it. Because if it bothers people, I want to stop.
Oh, it bothers people, but it's but you really don't know what that means. Like, what you don't understand what they're saying.
I don't know what that means.
Two Bears One Therapy Session is back, and in true YMH Studios style, they're late to the party yet again. It turns out that not only do they bank episodes, but they also bank the truth. After years of getting roasted by the internet and Joe Rogan for being a narcissist, Bert Kreischer has finally said it out loud all by himself. He's finally realized that he annoys the shit out of the people around him, and not in a fun, playful, "Oh, look at the fat and drunk 50-year-old frat boy with shit for brains." It's more of a, "Oh, I'm actually really fucking annoying to be around because I'm a delusional narcissist." And who better to diagnose Bert than the most closeted narcissist on the internet, Tom Segura. Tom absolutely loves these conversations because it distracts the attention away from his own toxic personality and shifts the focus onto his bloated co-host. But towards the end, Bert actually calls out his buddies for throwing him under the bus, so stick around for that because I actually think Bert's kind of right in a way. But watching Bert have a momentary glimpse of self-awareness and lucid thought before relapsing mid-sentence is like watching a baby walk for the first time and faceplant into a glass door. Bert's the kind of guy who has an entire conversation about how much of a narcissist he is, just so he can have a conversation about himself. The irony could cure cancer.
No one gets me. Like, no one understands me. I don't even understand myself.
Well,
I had like a moment where I said to Leanne, I was like, "Am I a narcissist?" I said this in Paris, and she was like, "No, you're not a narcissist." I go, "Would a narcissist know it though? Like, does a narcissist go like, no, I'm not a fucking narcissist," or they go, "Yeah, I'm a narcissist. It's wild."
That's an actually interesting question. I think if you said it to somebody who's like defined that way, they would not see themselves as that. See, a narcissist may be aware that others perceive them that way. They do not often see their behavior as problematic and therefore may not consider themselves to be a narcissist. Essentially, they may know their reputation, but not necessarily view their traits as negative, justifying them as their signs of greatness instead.
A more perfect description of Bert Kreischer simply doesn't exist. For him, his weaknesses are his strengths, and his strengths are limitless. Whether it's doing the splits, running a marathon, or bench pressing 300 pounds, anything's possible when Bert puts his mind to it. Joe Rogan put it perfectly when Andrew Huberman started venting his frustrations because Bert refused to take his advice.
Like
I tried to
Shane
get
Gillis.
Bert to quit.
Bert is not going to quit.
Well, he asked me to help him
Oh,
quit.
he doesn't
Otherwise,
mean that. He just
I
wants you to
wouldn't-
talk to him.
Oh,
Just
okay.
talk about Bert.
I'll
That's
talk
what he
about him.
wants. But that's what he wants. So
Oh,
let's
I'll
talk
talk
about
about
me.
him.
Let's talk about me,
I see.
about how I have to quit.
Got it.
Come on, talk to me about me. Let's make it all about Bert. That's what Bert likes. He's not going to quit.
Bert just wants to talk about Bert. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or ugly, as long as he's the center of attention and the main topic of conversation. And so on a recent trip to Paris with his wife Leanne, Bert had a Schultz epiphany while they were at dinner when he realized finally that he's a full-blown narcissist. Unfortunately, like a true enabler, his wife convinced him that he wasn't and brought us back to square one. However, as soon as Tom heard about this, he helped to officially diagnose Bert with histrionic personality disorder. The best part for me is just how excited Bert was to go through all these questions. He legitimately thinks that having a mental disorder is a flex, which is literally one of the symptoms of narcissism that Tom just read out before. For Bert, none of this is negative. They're just simply signs of greatness.
How about histrionic personality disorder, HPD? Do you think maybe you have this?
What's that?
Well, here's the symptoms. Attention seeking, being uncomfortable.
Okay, hold on. Go slow.
Okay. Being uncomfortable when not the center of attention and acting out to get it.
Everyone shut the up, okay?
You're being overly emotional, dramatic, or expressive.
Okay. All right. Keep going. I got that.
Having emotions that change quickly and seem shallow to others.
I got that.
Being overly concerned with physical appearance and using it to draw attention.
Oh, you mean like taking pictures of my and posting them on Instagram? Yeah.
Okay. Believing relationships are closer than they are and having difficulty maintaining them. Yeah, I think you believe that relationships are closer than they are sometimes. Not like with you and me, I mean with other people.
Yeah, I think so. And then I have a hard time replying to people, and I don't text people back or I don't reach out to people.
Being overly sensitive to criticism or disapproval.
Come on. You know I got that.
Okay. Being easily led by others, especially people they admire.
Yeah, God damn it, I got that too.
I mean, you're kind of checking all the boxes here. Speaking dramatically with strong opinions, but few facts or details to support them. I can answer that one for you. Having a low tolerance for frustration or delayed gratification.
Yes, I got that. I'm drinking right now because I'm frustrated. And
HPD is often coexistent with other mental conditions like anxiety.
I got that.
The cause is not entirely known, but can involve abuse, trauma, or neglect.
So I got HPV.
Well, you might, and that's something that a doctor could check, but you might have HPD.
Histrionic Personality Disorder.
My first thought after seeing that was, how in the fuck has he never been diagnosed with HPD by a mental health professional before? Every shrink Bert's been to probably just sits back and listens to him ramble about his life while they keep cashing checks. They know if they tell him the truth, he'll probably stop going, so they feed his ego by validating his feelings with a nod and a smile while keeping one eye on the clock behind him. But what Bert said next really took things to a whole new level. Just when you thought Tom was finally getting through to him, he did one of the most HPD things I've ever seen. Like, there's narcissism, and then there's Bert Kreischer narcissism.
Can we read more about it?
Yeah. Give me some famous people with histrionics.
Give me some famous people with histrionic. Okay.
Like, who else am I like?
Who was a famous person with it? Megan Fox, Jessica Simpson, Kim Kardashian. You know what I mean?
Kim K and I are the same.
You guys are the same.
I wonder if we could be friends, or if we just, like, drive each other nuts. They say Miley Cyrus has a very obvious case of it. See, here's the thing I have a hard time with, okay?
Oh, that's a good group to be involved in.
Anna Nicole Smith.
Jerry Sandusky. Amber Heard.
Megan Fox.
Yeah. And Bert Kreischer. Can you get Bert added to this list, somebody? Please have him pull up right under Sandusky.
Yeah. Okay. It's all hot chicks. I'm a hot chick.
You're kind of a hot chick. Yeah.
I'm a hot mess.
That's really interesting.
It's kind of good to know what you have.
It is good. Also, is there any treatment for it? It's probably therapy.
No, I don't want treatment. I like me.
That sounds like a very histrionic thing to say.
Yeah.
Bert being excited to be on a list of celebrities with personality disorders is one of the most Bert Kreischer things I've ever seen. But then something interesting happened. See, whenever they have these bullshit conversations where Tom trolls Bert and Bert goes along with it because he's happy to talk about himself in any facet, sometimes the mask falls off and Bert says something that's actually intelligent and insightful. Stick with me for a second because Bert low-key just called out his buddies for being massive fucking hypocrites. And I actually agree with Bert here. I'll even go as far as to say that I'm glad that he said this out loud, especially with somebody like Tom. Even though Bert's a massive lolcow, there's an innocence and honesty about him that sometimes comes through, and I think that's something his buddies aren't even capable of doing themselves.
I asked Ari a question on the podcast we did with him, and I was like, what do you hope to gain out of this special? His special, his Jews coming out on Netflix too.
Yeah, but he has America's Sweetheart out right now, which is...
I'm curious because Ari has always said he doesn't want fame, he doesn't want money. So it's like,
yeah,
I've always been honest with what I wanted. Like, I want people to watch my special Lucky coming out March 18th. I want people to watch it. I want people to watch it because I want to continue doing stand-up, and I want to... I would hope to make money while I do stand-up. But I understand the person, like yourself, you don't like being the center of attention, but you have a draw to get on stage. So
I don't like being the center of attention off stage. I do like being the center of attention on stage.
But okay, so how can you, I would think it would go hand in hand. I can't wrap my head around that because I think my whole thing is based around like being on stage and being on stage, like always being on stage, always having.
But that's the difference. I have a separation for it. For me, I don't want all the attention when I'm walking around or I just step and grab that mic. I I want to be the center of attention then. You know, like when I'm talking to people.
It's so interesting to me because I can't see the juxtaposition, you know?
Ah, fuck it. I completely agree with what Bert was saying, and this is something that I've called out Joe Rogan for doing a while back. There's no way you can put out over a dozen hours of your conversations every single week and not believe that you're superior to everyone else. I showed you guys a clip in my last video where Rogan and Hinchcliffe told off Brian Simpson for wanting to read the live chat during a Fight Companion livestream. All of these guys think they're above us, and it kind of comes with the territory. You have to have confidence in your own ability to stand in front of an audience and do a set. And if you can get paid for it and build a career out of it, it's almost impossible not to become arrogant and think you're better than everyone else. That's what I think is confusing for Bert, because he's the only one who outright acknowledges that he loves the attention, he enjoys being rich and famous, but I think all of them do. He's just the only one stupid enough to admit it. How many times have you heard Rogan say he doesn't give a fuck about his podcast numbers? He just does it for funsies. What a load of shit. I guarantee you that if Rogan's numbers started falling and Spotify dropped him, he'd start losing sleep over it. And Bert is absolutely right about Ari. He claims to not care about fame or attention, but he regularly appears as a guest on JRE and Kill Tony to promote his stuff, gets his junk out on stage, takes a dump on stage, pisses in bottles in Rogan's studio because he simply could not be bothered getting up and walking to the bathroom. Every single one of these guys has a bit of narcissism in them. Bert's just the only one who says it out loud. And as cringy as he is when he constantly craps on about getting noticed in public, I'd bet his buddies would get annoyed too if people stopped noticing them. They just wouldn't admit it.
I got recognized like maybe 4 times in France. And it was kind of cool. It hadn't happened in a while to know that no one's watching you. Like it was kind of cool to go somewhere and then you could just, and like no one gave a f about you and no one was staring at you. I don't know. I get recognized a lot. Like I think probably more than other people. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm loud and I care. I'm a big guy and I talk loud and I fill a room.
Your energy is also like.
Look at me a little bit.
A little bit.
And in the States, if I see a guy, I go, that guy's going to recognize me. And I would see the type of guy that should recognize me, not recognize me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like caught me off guard.
Yeah.
The first day I'd be like, oh, big guy in shorts and cold weather with a fucking hoodie on, beard.
He's about to say something.
He's about to say, oh, the machine.
Yeah.
And never quit drinking. And he just walked right by me. And I was like, wait, did you want to? I'd walk by him a second time and be like, you sure?
I don't know if I've ever met anybody who likes it as much as you. You really like it.
And you know, I think there's a subset of people that find that shameful. They're like, that's kind of gross. I can't wrap my head around the fact that people would see that as gross. I go, yeah, but I got on stage. Like you saw me that I got on stage. You saw that I wanted you to pay attention to me there. You know, I think it's the same part of my personality disorder, the HPV, that I got.
Sounds like you're coming to terms with it.
Ari said, you always make it about yourself. And Tom, I couldn't understand I don't know what that sentence means. Like,
really?
I really don't, and I don't know how I do it. And I said it to Leanne in Paris and I said, do I make things about myself? She goes, yeah. And I said, but doesn't everyone? And she goes, no. And I was like, but wait, when do I do it? And she goes, you're doing it right now. She was like, we're at dinner and you're saying, do you make things you're making this about yourself? Joe's said it to me before.
Yeah.
Joe's said it to me before on a podcast. Ari said it to me the other day. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I wonder if they've talked about it behind my back. And I was like, I might ask my friends to tell me when I'm doing it. Because if it bothers people, I want to stop.
Oh, it bothers people, but it's but you really don't know what that means. Like, what you don't understand what they're saying.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what's wrong with me today, guys, but again, I'm really starting to see things from Bert's perspective. And I don't mean that his narcissism is justified or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, Bert's toxic as fuck. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near him. But what I like is that he's effectively calling his buddies out for being fake. And that's not really something you can accuse Bert of. I mean, at least the guy's honest and unapologetic. Anyone who posts hours and hours of themselves having conversations with their buddies online every week deep down thinks that they're pretty hot shit and worth listening to. Sure, they'll say, oh, it's just banter and we're just fucking around, but they could do that in the comedy mothership green room behind closed doors with no cameras or microphones. They think it's a privilege for us to listen to them talk, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. But as far as Tom goes, there's no way he would admit any of that or even entertain the idea that he's as toxic as Bert. For him, it's all about deflecting onto Bert and pretending to care about helping him.
Somebody is saying, making an observation, telling a story, and then that what you do instinctively is go, here's what happened to me one time. So in their mind, they're telling the thing that happened to them, and you're pivoting it to something about you. So it's about.
I did that today. I just did that to you. It's such a natural part of my personality.
It is. It's part of your personality. I don't know.
But I consider that talking.
I know you do. You're not like alone in that. No, a lot of people do that. I mean, I've done that too.
So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to just go like, that's cool. I don't even know I'm doing it.
Yeah, I believe you. I mean, your natural instinct is to like hear something and go, well, what's my version of that? Or I have something to say about that, right? Here, what does it say? How to stop talking about yourself. Okay.
That's not good for stand-up, though.
If you're using the words I, me, and my in your conversation, you may not be having a conversation. You may only be talking about yourself. A great way to remember this is to keep a rubber band around your wrist. Every time you catch yourself using those words, snap the rubber band. Start practicing these steps. When conversing with others, ask them to tell you if you've missed a step. Most friends will be supportive. Some of that feels like you don't want to listen though. Like if you were to just listen, like sit back and listen, that would make you anxious almost, right?
Do you think it's part of my social anxiety? Because I'm not comfortable being in a car with a stranger because I'm not comfortable with silence. It makes me so anxious.
Well, that makes sense because you talk a lot in general terms. You talk a lot.
Yeah, I do talk a lot, but I talk a lot because I think because silence makes me uncomfortable. And if I can be silent around you, that means I really like you.
Two comedians pulling up a guide on how to stop talking about themselves on a podcast with no guest is peak podcasting in 2025. But as annoying as Bert is, I hope he does keep calling out his buddies like this. You can tell that the whole failure of Sober October and how it was effectively replaced with Protect Our Parks has really gotten to him. I covered that whole drama with Ari Shaffir recently when Bert threw a temper tantrum on that episode of Two Bears because they were accusing him of making everything about himself. He brought up Ari several times in this episode as well, so it's obviously been on his mind. And I'm starting to see why it's bothering him so much. He's basically saying, I thought that was the whole point. They all play different characters, and Bert's just the guy who talks the loudest and interrupts everyone. Now it seems like he feels as if they're holding it against him when that's precisely what he's famous for. So if they want him to stop, then what the fuck is he meant to do? I mean, take Tom for example. After the backlash from the pause over his boring-ass conversations with Rogan and Bert about his watches and car collection, as well as a few airport incidents and Twitter meltdowns, he's become the chill guy who sits back on podcasts and doesn't interrupt anyone or say anything out of step, and now he's boring as fuck. The guy's in business mode 24/7 as he tries to build his empire while juggling the commitments of a stand-up comic at the same time. Like, imagine if Shane Gillis stopped drinking 30 cans of Bud Light every day and decided to stop bullying people and calling everything he doesn't like gay. He'd be boring as fuck too. And imagine if Joe Rogan stopped parroting the same fucking talking points in every episode and stopped crapping on about the mothership and how funny his buddies are in the green room. Actually, that'd be a massive improvement. But you guys get my point, right? I think that's what Bert's trying to say here. He just doesn't know how to say it, and as toxic as he is, I think he's kind of right. Anyway, speaking of comedy assassins, make sure you check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you want to see my uncensored longer form content. There's plenty of stuff on there to keep you busy, including lots of commentary on Kill Tony and Joe Rogan, so go and check that out if you're interested. While you're here though, hit the subscribe button and make sure you give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
How many dollars do you think 1,000 pennies is?
Really? Isn't it $10?
It's 10.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be $100. I was like, I go, get me 1,000 pennies. And they're like, really? And I was like, I don't care how much it is.